optimization, or how to do inference optimization with models. So all of these things are there with these experts. We have about 93 of them. So these experts show themselves up in Google developer groups. They also organize events like Build with AI, right? So these are events which many of you should check out in your own cities when they come up. So now I'll tell you what have we done with helping startups go beyond the forming stage, right? So we have this thing called Google for Startups Accelerator. This has been around for more than 10 years now. We've had about 20 cohorts of people, right? And across the world, we've had about 1,700 alumni which have come out of these things, right? And the goal here is we want these startups to take their ideas and start using them with the Google technologies which we already have to accelerate to product development, right? So they get access to various people who can help them solve these problems. So this is a huge advantage for people who are working in this ecosystem. We published the Accelerator Impact Report of 2025, and you can go in and see how these startups have done, how much they have literally raised more than $30 billion after they have been a part of our program, right? So this is tremendous success for the program to see so many people. We also see that this has led to about 110,000 jobs, these startups which have come out of it, right? So this is something which we are very, very proud of. I'll tell you examples of how people from these startups can engage, right? We every year, we do many events like Startup School, AI Day for Startups, right? And we partnered with an organization called Intelligent Agents and equipped over 200 startups to build AI agents. Throughout India, we had about 7 boot camps where they did this thing, and we were very, very impressed with the quality of these AI agents they were able to build, where they got help from Google for integrating with this. So this is something which might be interesting to all of you. Finally, I do want to tell you, Build with AI is a very, very good resource for many of you. Like I said, we have events happening all through the country. They focus on things like what do you do with the models? How do you integrate with Android, Cloud, Play? So we have people from those teams in these hands-on workshops. So you actually get to code, you get to integrate with these technologies, and you get to actually interact with people who are experts in this, which is the real use of these things. I'll just do a shout out at this point that if you are an AI-first startup, if you are excited about doing something in this area, the cohort for this year is opening up. We are taking applications till April 19th, so please do apply if you're interested in this thing. And I'm happy to also say that we are running many ads showing the success of many of these startups. And to give you a sample of what we have done, we're going to show you one startup which is democratizing education. And now we will see what Entri is doing.
Growing up, I had struggled a lot with education. It was frustrating. And when I realized that Hizam had an idea to work in education, that really resonated with me a lot.
ഞാനൊരു അമ്മയായി കഴിഞ്ഞപ്പോൾ എൻ്റെ ലൈഫിൽ ഒരു വലിയൊരു പോസായിരുന്നു. അപ്പോൾ എൻ്റെ കരിയറിൽ ഒരു വലിയൊരു ബ്രേക്ക് എടുക്കേണ്ടതായിട്ട് വന്നു. ഹസ്ബൻഡിന് അപ്പോൾ ഗവൺമെൻറ് ജോബായിരുന്നു. അപ്പോൾ അദ്ദേഹത്തിൻ്റെ ജോബ് അട്രാക്റ്റഡ് ആയിട്ട് എനിക്കും ഗവൺമെൻറ് ജോബ് വേണം എന്നുള്ളൊരു ആഗ്രഹമുണ്ടായി. സെൽഫ് സ്റ്റഡി സ്റ്റാർട്ട് ചെയ്തപ്പോൾ എനിക്ക് വളരെ ചെറിയൊരു റാങ്ക് ആയിരുന്നു ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നത്. എനിക്ക് ജോബ് കിട്ടുന്ന വലിയ റാങ്ക് കിട്ടിയില്ല. അപ്പോൾ എനിക്ക് മനസ്സിലായി എൻ്റെ ഒരു ഡ്രോബാക്ക്, എനിക്ക് ഒരു മെൻറ്റർഷിപ്പിൻ്റെ ആവശ്യകതയെ പറ്റി എനിക്ക് മനസ്സിലായി.
There are 400 million people who are not proficient in English, but with the right kind of learning experience in their own local language or mother tongue can improve their employability chances.
So we thought, is there a way that we can make it more affordable for them?
We met at a juice shop in Kochi. It was fun. So I pitched him the idea. He liked it, and we decided to do it. Entri is an Android-first platform where users can consume learning content in their own local language and be ready for a job.
The problem with trying to build a technology company from a smaller city is that there aren't enough people you can learn from. In the early days, that was a big problem that was stopping us from having higher velocity when it comes to engineering. That is when we learned about Google for Startups Accelerator, and that is the biggest contributor to the engineering excellence that we have right now. It was very obvious for us. We want to have courses in people's native language. And that was a huge problem. That was not a scalable solution, right? We did not have enough amazing teachers on all of these topics in all of these different languages. That is why we leveraged Gemini's capabilities, as it worked really well with Indian languages. Then we introduced new AI features like Teaching Assistant and Interview Coach to help users interact with the video content and prepare them for interviews in Indic languages through chat interfaces. So if users have any question or if they have any doubts, if they want to get a summary of content, they can just directly talk to the teaching assistant and get all these answers. With these AI features powered by Gemini, we saw an increase of around 20% in user retention.
ഇത് എല്ലാ ഹാർഡ് വർക്കിൻ്റെയും അവസാനം എനിക്ക് ദൈവം എനിക്ക് ഞാൻ വിചാരിച്ച പോലെ നല്ലൊരു റാങ്ക് എനിക്ക് കിട്ടി. അങ്ങനെ എനിക്ക് ഗവൺമെൻറ് ജോബ് കിട്ടി.
Only 5% of the world has English as a first language. And similar to how Android helped us scale very fast in India, I think AI will help us scale fast across the world.
ഇതല്ല, ഞാനൊരു പൂ മാത്രമാണ് ചോദിച്ചത്, പക്ഷെ എനിക്കൊരു വലിയൊരു പൂക്കാലമാണ് എനിക്ക് കിട്ടിയത്. എല്ലാ രീതിയിലുള്ള ഒരു സപ്പോർട്ടാണ് എന്നെ ഒരു സക്സസ്ഫുൾ വുമൺ ആക്കിയത്.
I hope that was inspirational. Hope you learn a lot in the rest of the sessions. I will now invite my colleague Paige to the stage.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here and to get to see all of you here today learning more about AI. And I think it's clear to the entire world that India is kind of blazing a path for everyone else to follow for understanding how to use these tools, how to build better models, and also to deploy them safely, securely, and in a way that can completely change and revolutionize everything that we know about technology today. So my name is Paige. I work on our AI studio and Gemini's team at Google DeepMind. I think I see a few friendly faces in the audience, which is great. Just to get a kind of a pulse check, how many of y'all have used AI Studio in the audience today? Awesome. That's more hands than I normally see. And for everyone who did not raise your hand, your homework for today is to go to ai.dev or ai.studio and to begin playing with our Gemini models, as well as Nano Banana, create API keys, and also use our build feature to kind of build and deploy models directly to Google Cloud. I'm also curious how many folks today were able to see kind of the keynote session from Demis earlier this morning. Amazing. For folks who didn't see it, we have a couple of folks from our engineering leadership team here today and here this week for AI Summit. Sundar, of course, and Demis, who are going to be talking a lot about our AI trajectory, some of the things that we've been doing as a company, and also the tools that we're creating and deploying and our commitment to builders like all of y'all as you're creating kind of the next wave of companies and the next wave of tools that will be useful for folks who are trying to incorporate AI into their daily lives. So I'm really excited again to kind of get to talk to you all this week. We have a whole bunch of builder days and developer days, not just in Delhi, but also in Bangalore. So if you have friends in Bangalore later this week, please tell them to drop on by and to say hi. And please do also make sure to sign up for all of the accelerator and startup events that my colleagues just mentioned. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and welcome Prashant to the stage to talk a little bit more about our developer offerings and to get us all pumped for the panel session later today, where you can ask questions about DeepMind, about our models, about Gemini, including spicy questions. So think about what you're curious to know, and really looking forward to hearing what y'all are excited about soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Paige. Hey, everyone, great to see all of you here. My name is Prashant. I lead developer adoption for Google Cloud in APAC. What I'd like to talk to you about today is, what do you need when you're building out your AI applications, right? And I'd like to call this the OS for your AI applications or your AI stack. I saw a good number of hands go up when Paige mentioned about AI Studio. What's the happening thing in the world of AI, the kind of tools that we have today? Something coding, vibe coding much? Is that still a thing or outdated? Still a thing? Good, see some smiles. So, it's great, right? We have these amazing technologies that we have today where we can build out all these applications, realize our dreams even. But what does it take to go from those applications and actually start sharing it with your friends, building up a user base, right? And getting your applications out there. So this is something I want to walk you through the way that we are thinking about it. We'll reiterate some of the things that Anand mentioned in the beginning as well. So the what and the how of software as we know it today has fundamentally changed. All of us are living it today, right? Things are changing at a breakneck speed. Every day there is something new that's going to be announced. For all you know, this week there are 100 different things that's going to be launched, and we'll have to figure it out as soon as possible. But among all these changes, what really matters is how we react to this, right? How are we able to adopt these changes? How are we making good with these changes? How are we able to accelerate what we are doing with the way software is evolving? Okay. I wish AI helped me out here, but let's try to, yeah, awesome. So this is where we are today, right? We are in a really unique moment in time. Firstly, AI, the technology, it's really mature, right? Compared to maybe a year back, compared to maybe even 2 years back. AI is really mature today. It is accessible to everyone across all walks of life. And it is affordable. So this is changing things, in today's world. Businesses are seeking efficiency, are looking at new ways of engaging their end users and providing brand new experiences. And we all as developers, or I definitely as a developer, right? I enjoy these new tools. I want to see how we can use this. I want to learn these new technologies. And we are seeing this kind of an interest and buzz. And I mean, if this audience sitting here is something to show by, all of us are really interested in knowing what's happening in this world of AI, and we are really willing to adopt and learn these new tech. So this is a really unique moment for all of us, and we have to capitalize on this. Okay. Now, there are some things that are changing. There are a lot of things that are changing, but there are some things that are still the same. And let's see what they are. So what's changing? Let's look at what's changing in terms of product development. The first thing is, who does what? The lines are blurring between different personas, different kinds of developers. You used to have things like a front-end developer, a back-end developer, a UI designer. You used to have product managers. Used to, or we still have product managers? Oh, we still have product managers, of course. We're not letting them go, right? But the lines are blurring. A product manager doesn't need an engineering team to build applications, to prototype things, right? They can do it by themselves with the vibe coding that we have today. Developers are able to understand the problem statement, understand market space better, right? Which used to be the domain or the forte of product managers. So these lines are blurring. Things like tool chains. We are getting a new framework, a new API, a new way of working with a model every single day, right? The tool chain is evolving and changing so drastically. IDEs, we are living in the world of IDEs and CLIs today. Brand new architectural patterns, the way that we are working with some of the software. Things are really changing, and we are coping up with that, right? So there are a lot of changes happening. I won't go through all of this. We'll pick a few things. But for example, again, every one of us, be it a junior developer, be it a senior developer, we are all, in a sense, sort of managers today, right? We are all working with agents. We need to manage these agents. We need to understand how to leverage these agents, lead it in the right direction, give it the right output, ensure it is doing the things that we want it to do. And it's not just one or two agents. We are working with a fleet of agents. And in essence, all of us are becoming managers in some way, or we need to understand these capabilities of what managers need to do to manage these agents, right? So this is really changing as we go into this new world. Maybe something around the product cycle, right? The product cycle, which used to be 6 months of ideation, research, and I don't know, I've been in the industry for a long time. We used to have the days of the waterfall, releases every year. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I used to be in the days where I used to ship software on a CD, right? What is a CD? I really don't know these days, right? But this used to be even 15 years back. We moved into cloud where we started having quarterly releases. And today, we are able to push out products, build products in 30 minutes and have it out there, right? So the speed of the product development, the speed of the product cycle is really accelerated. However, there are a lot of things that still stays the same. First thing is, good planning matters. It has mattered before, it continues to matter today. You need to think about how you build your application out, what are the functionalities, how do you take your application to production, how do you handle vulnerabilities. I mean, not everyone can create a billion user application overnight by writing a single prompt, if only it were that easy, right? Probably I'll be vacationing somewhere and not speaking here if that were to happen. No, I enjoy speaking to you all folks. But that's the world we are in, right? So planning really matters. Projects don't go wrong, they start wrong. So if you don't start right, you'll end up with a lot of problems. Another thing which is very interesting is the use cases. I don't think there are any new use cases that have come about in the last week or last month or last year. The same problems that we were facing 6 months back, a year back, are the problems we are having today that we need solutions for. What has changed is how we build these solutions. What has changed are we are able to tackle problems that we couldn't tackle before, right? The use cases still exist today. And this is why we are able to leverage this. So some of those fundamental behavior, fundamental way in which you used to build software stays the same, right? Things like security, it's not going away anywhere. We used to think about security 5 years back. We are going to think about security for the next 5 years, right? Reliability, scalability, these continue to remain relevant. Bullets 5 and 6, quality, reliability. You can just put your application out there and ensure it just scales automatically, ensure it works, and gives you, 10 out of 10 CSAT scores. That's not going to happen. You need to think about that, and these are some things that stays relevant even in today's world. So how do we thrive in this AI-powered product development lifecycle? What does it take? So this is the product development lifecycle as we have, it has stayed the same. There's nothing much that has changed. At the top left, you have the product strategy where you understand the market, do your research, find the problem spaces, right? What is it that I'm trying to solve for? And try to gather your research. Then you go into the product discovery part. Product discovery, we would like to split it into 2 phases. First phase is you have a large market problem that you intend to solve. You're not going to go out there and build a complete application, a gigabyte-sized application to solve the problem. You're going to break it down into epics, user stories, use cases. So the first part is doing the discovery of what problems you want to solve. The second part is prototyping, right? You have a way that you imagine you're going to solve a problem. You want to build applications, give it to your end users, get feedback, do user research, right? So that's the second part of product discovery. And finally, when you have your product, you launch it out there, release it out there in a way that it is scalable, maintainable, reliable for your end users. And that is the product delivery part. So this is a cycle, and this has accelerated, right? So what used to take probably 6 months now happens in weekly cycles. And all of this can be and is being powered by AI. So how are we looking at a more informed product strategy? Capabilities or tools like Gemini Deep Research, which is available in Gemini Enterprise. This helps you explore code bases, explore articles, explore research, understand the market, present it to you in a simplified format so that you understand the opportunities and the market that you're trying to solve for. Maybe something like, If you want to get a buy-in from your execs or maybe your partners in terms of building out your software, in the past you would have to make your presentations, talk to them, convince them. Again, it is extremely easy to do that today. With Gemini in the workspace, and even things like Nano Banana, you can create amazing infographics. You can create, showcase your ideas or present your ideas in a very understandable, friendly, concise way to your partners, to your executives, right, to get their buy-in. So this is how we are able to really involve ourselves and create the plan that we need in order to achieve the product vision. And all of this, again, is powered by Gemini 3. You heard this multiple times in the previous talks sections as well. But Gemini 3 is our state-of-the-art model with state-of-the-art reasoning, multimodal understanding. You can use it for agentic coding capabilities. It has advanced tool usage and planning capabilities, right? And this is available to you through Gemini, and through the Gemini app, through various other tools, right? Anti-gravity, through AI Studio. You can leverage these highly capable models through all the products and use it in your product cycle. How about product discovery? We spoke about the product strategy in the first, the product discovery side. Now that you have your research, you can upload that into Notebook LM. How many use Notebook LM here? You like it? Yeah, awesome. I mean, amazing product. I really enjoy it. Notebook LM uploaded there, poke at your data, ask questions, find out, okay, what are the opportunities I have in it? What can I tackle first? So use the research that you have done, put that into Notebook LM, and try to gather insights that you can then focus on. You can start creating your use cases, specific user stories, and start working on that. Rapidly prototype, as we said, right? You do your, identify your use cases. The next thing you need to do is build something and get user feedback. How do you do that? Use AI Studio. Use Gemini CLI, use anti-gravity, use all these modern tooling that we have that lets you wipe code, that lets you build out these prototypes very easily and quickly. And, So Google Anti-Gravity is, we have reimagined the development platform, right? So it's a brand new agentic development platform that we have imagined. We are sort of blurring the gap between a browser, a command line, and IDE, right? So all of this come together in anti-gravity. How many here have used anti-gravity? Okay, about 50, 60%. I mean, rest of you do try it out. I use it for a lot of things which is not related to coding, right? Even exploring a website and getting me recommendations from a website, courses that I want to buy and learn, creating a learning plan for me, right? I use anti-gravity for a lot of things. It's not just for software engineering or coding. So go ahead and try that out. But the way we are thinking about it again is this, right? Blurring the boundaries between an editor, an IDE, and a browser. And we spoke about every one of you being managers of agents. Anti-gravity lets you spin off multiple agents in sequence. If I had to do a task, the typical way is we spin off an agent, the agent does a task, and I'm sitting and watching the agent do its thing, right? Why am I wasting my time with that? I can think about what is the next problem, what is the next use case that I want to build. Spin off a new task, spin off a new agent executing on the task, and anti-gravity lets you do that, right? So if you haven't tried it out, do try it out. If you've used anti-gravity and haven't tried these features, definitely do try it out. We'll not go to the demo. We have a huge pavilion in the other expo hall in Hall 5. Please do reach out to us. We'll have a lot of demos and a lot of use cases there, so talk to us there. And the final thing is product delivery, right? We have done all of the strategy, discovery, and we want to now deliver. And this is where I was talking about before as well, right? Planning is really, really important. So you can use capabilities like we have a conductor extension in Gemini CLI, if that's your preferred way of building software. We have anti-gravity that has a planning mode. Leverage these tools. Ask it to come up with a plan. How do I make my application ready for production? What are the things that I need to be doing? How do I take care of security? How do I do observability? Build all these things out. Plan for all of this. Leverage these tools and capabilities in order to do it. And then you also have the platform that you need to run your applications. So on Google Cloud, you have a Google Kubernetes engine, Cloud Run, Agent Engine. These are highly scalable, flexible platforms where you can deploy your agents, deploy your applications. So what's the next step that you need to take, right, to make all this happen? How about if you could really innovate faster, go from concept to production in a matter of weeks or days? How about if you could drive growth, innovate rapidly, right? Acquire more users, give them an experience. How about if you could operate really smart, complex workflows. Let the infrastructure take care of all the scaling and reliability problems for you, while you focus on the business functionality, the value that you're providing. And this is where Anand mentioned this, but this is how we have an entire stack, right? For your full stack AI application, we have a full stack platform, right from the infrastructure, as Anand was mentioning, from the GPUs, TPUs, to the data, to the models, the first-party models, the state-of-the-art models that we have built, which is running on these platforms, to maybe even the platform, the Vertex AI, where you can do fine-tuning, you can do supervised tuning, do a side-by-side evaluation. All of this can be done. And finally, out-of-the-box agents and apps. Everything available in one stack that we control the experience, and we can provide you with the best experience possible. So do leverage these. Again, talk to us more. A few things that I will mention before I end. Cloud Run with GPUs. Cloud Run is our highly flexible, scalable, serverless container platform, right? Any container that you have, you can deploy it on Cloud Run and forget about it. As the users grows, the platform will scale. But this now comes with GPUs. It's on demand. It scales to 0. If you're not using it, you're not going to be paying anything for it. You pay by the second, pay by how much time you're using the services. Right? Unlocks amazing use cases. For example, you can bring in your own model. You can bring in open models, your favorite open model. Gemini is everyone's favorite, right? But yeah, bring in your favorite model, bring in your fine-tuned models. All of this can be run on Cloud Run with GPUs. Some use cases, for example, if you want to do real-time LLM inference, right? I mean, this is what 80% of our use cases are. These are some things that you can use Cloud Run with GPUs for. On-demand image generation. You don't need to keep a GPU, a machine running all the time. Send it through a Cloud Run, and then when the request comes in, it uses the GPUs, does the processing, gives you the images, media use cases, video processing, 3D rendering, and so on. Google has an AI-ready data cloud, and I'm sorry, I sweat a lot under the lights. So you can say I'm nervous as well. No, I'm not. But yeah, make your stories. Use Nano Banana, take a photo of me and say, okay, this guy's nervous on the stage. Why not? That'll be fun. But Google's AI-ready data cloud, right from your databases, right from global scale, vector-ready databases, embedding-ready databases, to your data warehouses in BigQuery. All of these plug into your Vertex AI, your AI platform. So the power of these AI applications that you're building out is your data. That is your differentiator. And for that, you need the best databases, the best data warehouses, the best insights in tools like Looker. All of this is, again, something that you can use and leverage. And they work seamlessly across the entire stack. Building agents is the same as building any other software. You have to go through this development lifecycle, planning, building, testing, releasing. This stays the same. How are we looking at making it simpler for you? Agent Development Kit. How many of you have used Agent Development Kit or heard about it? Okay. So Agent Development Kit is a really flexible open source framework that we have built. It works really well with Gemini and the Google Cloud ecosystem. However, we have built this as model agnostic, deployment agnostic. You can bring in any model. You can get a container artifact and run it on any platform, right? So it's completely up to you, no lock-in. But it's the way that we think, the way that we want to build agents. We have built this framework and open sourced it. So again, this is something that you can leverage in order to build out your agents and accelerate your product development lifecycle. An agent standing alone is of no use. So the framework also lets you connect to your ecosystems, connects to tools, services, Google Maps, whatever be it. Bring in your MCP servers, talk to various external tools, talk to databases. We also have our own native capabilities. For example, grounding with Google Search, grounding with Google Maps, code execution. These are all capabilities that are readily available out of the box with ADK. You can even bring in tools from any other framework that you have used, right? For example, tools from LangGraph. You can bring that into ADK and leverage it within ADK. And finally, this framework is engineered to be enterprise ready, right? So it works very well. You can connect to managed MCP servers that we have on Google Cloud. You have observability, you have evaluations. A lot of enterprise-ready capabilities are available on ADK that you can use to build out your applications. Again, we'll skip the demo. Please come over to the booth. We can talk more in detail there. So almost ending, last 3 slides. Building agents, building AI applications with Google Cloud. AI applications need to be full stack applications, and you need a full stack AI platform in order to be able to run this, right? Right from your first party models or third party models, you have access to state of the art models on Google Cloud. You have access to the runtimes. You need to run your application somewhere, right? You're not going to build something on your laptop and hand it over to your friend, go ahead and use it. You need runtimes. So any kind of thing, right? Whatever you want, whatever floats your boat, Cloud Runs, Kubernetes, all of this is available in terms of runtimes. Tools, databases, data warehouses, connections to Maps, Drive, Google Search, connections to MCP servers, the entire set of tool capabilities available for you. And finally, as you're running your applications in production, security, observability, monitoring, right? Everything that you need in order to build your full stack AI applications is available for you on Google Cloud. So please go try it out. I would encourage you to try it out and let us know what you find about it, what you're liking, what you're not liking. We would love to hear from you, get your feedback, and make these products better for your use cases. And finally, I'll introduce this program. We have the Gen AI Academy that we have just kicked off. This is the 2026 version. This runs every quarter. We have a cohort every quarter focused on specific use cases. This is designed to be a highly gamified, challenge-oriented learning experience, right? You will start with instructor-led sessions and workshops. You have self-learning. You can go ahead and do this. You will have assessments to evaluate how your learning is progressing. You have projects that you'll have to submit. All of this is in the next slide. I'm just waiting for the photos to get done so that you have the QR code. But take a photo of the QR code or even search for Gen AI Academy on Google. You'll be able to find this place, right? But it's a highly immersive program that we have designed. And finally, after all the projects that you will be building and submitting quarter on quarter, we even have hackathons at various stages. So you can put your learning and your skills to the test and compete against all the other participants who are there. So it's an amazing program. Please do join up. Please do sign up for this. It's completely free, of course, right? And would love to see what kind of products and what kind of solutions you're building out as you come out through the projects and through the hackathons. With that, I will end my talk. I hope this was interesting. I hope you had something to take away from this. And next, I would love to bring on board Amrit. Thank you.
Thank you, Prashant. Well, Prashant talked a lot about cloud today. I'm going to talk about the other side, the mobile side of things. By the way, I'm Amrit Sanjeev. I'm a staff engineer on the Android Developer Relations team. And we're going to touch on building intelligent apps on Android. So this is going to be more practical, what you could use in order to build apps today, and what you can leverage on from our side to make these delightful experiences for users. Well, if you look at it, we are in a crux, or we are in a crossroads, actually, where you are actually having an opportunity to kind of really transform the way users use mobile today. And this is fueled by two things. One, a rising in users' expectations of what they could do with their apps. And secondly, there are breakthroughs in AI which allow you to create new and delightful experiences for your users. Now, when people look at it, they want actually a couple of things which are different from maybe in the past. They want personalized. They want intelligent, personalized experiences that are agentic in nature. So users expect you to actually do things proactively, not just reactive. So that's a huge change in the shift in how you actually want to think about some of these use cases. Now, when you look at the AI landscape, we actually classify it into three buckets. We have a lot of use cases that we see in the helpful class, which is basically things like a contextual assistant that comes in and actually solves problems at the right time for you. Or it could be a proactive spam detection or fraud detection in many cases. The second one is a content space, where you have things like summarization, generation of content, things like that, classification. All of these use cases are actually getting done. Thirdly, we have the social and communication, and this is where the true visual magic is really happening. A lot of image generation, editing, contextual image editing, all these sort of aspects, super resolution image zooming, things like that, where new experiences are being shown, and this is delighting users a lot. So these are the usual, these are the main classic buckets in which we're seeing use cases come out in the app market. Like we mentioned earlier, we have an end-to-end stack, and I think that's been drilled into you guys a couple of times already. But just to call it out, we have the stack all the way from cloud and all the way down to devices. And not just that, we have a set of tools which allow you to build and optimize on these solutions really quickly. Thirdly, we also built in security into this. So your data is secure, and you don't have to worry about security too much about when you're actually using this end-to-end stack. And lastly, all these tools are designed to work seamlessly with each other. So you can actually focus on innovating rather than getting the workflow correct. So that's actually the power that you have all these things stacked up together. To give you an example, to practically showcase this, we have AI Studio, which is a tool which allows you to prototype or work with models without actually writing the app. So you can actually prototype with the AI Studio without actually writing the app and actually using an API to connect and communicate. You can prototype using AI Studio. Then we have a powerful model suite which spans across Gemini, Gemma, and image generation model like Imagine. So you could use that to actually build your solutions. On top of it, we also have SDKs. So like MLK Gen AI API SDK, which allows you for local inference. And then you have Firebase AI Logic, which allows you to do cloud inference. So this accelerates and speeds up how you might want to do things, hiding all the complexity of interacting with a model. And lastly, for developers, we also have a catalog, which has a lot of use cases realized, where you can actually look at it as references on how to build Gen AI use cases into your app. So that's a catalog you can actually use as a reference. Now, jumping into, now when you're looking at, I talked about cloud and on device, right? That's actually something that you want to kind of decide early on as you think of your solution. How do you want to kind of leverage either of these two solutions that we have? So there are a bunch of parameters on which you want to kind of decide. So some of them are context window. How much data are you going to pass back and forth? What is a device reach? So how many devices do you want to actually cater these use cases for? Is it only for the high-end devices, or is it for the mass market devices, or is it for a particular hardware when the particular hardware is available? So you will decide on that. The cost factor, yes. With applications which have huge scale, cost becomes a factor. There's offline availability, complexity of your task, whether you need to do local processing only because of privacy or regulatory reasons. You can't take data out to the server, so you have to process it locally. So that becomes another factor. And modality. Modality is basically what is the input output? Is it going to be an audio stream? Is it going to be an image? Is it going to be just text? And what do you want to get back in return from the model? Now that's a lot of parameters. It's not really easy to look at all these vectors and then start deciding. So we would actually suggest looking at these three to start with. So I'll give you a quick workflow of how you might want to quickly decide where you want to kind of lean towards. So if you're actually looking at modality, start with looking at modality. This is basically means what is the type of data you are actually passing to the model. Is it going to be text? Is it going to be an image? Is it going to be a video? So you can actually decide. Equally important is what is the response you need back. Do you want an image generated, or do you want textual output, or do you want a combination of things? That's something you can actually decide on. Secondly, it's a complexity. When you look at complexity, some tasks are more complex than others. They require sometimes specialized knowledge. Say, look at a legal review or a medical review or a financial modeling. They require specialized knowledge for the models to kind of be effective and be very useful in your use case. So you want to kind of look at, is it going to be a simple use case like summarization, or is it going to be more complicated like financial modeling? So the complexity of the task becomes another criteria. The third one is a context window. How much data are you going to pass to the system? Is it going to be hours of video or audio, or is it going to be just a small prompt? Is it going to be something that you need back is a long form text or a video that is generated? So you want to look at both input and output format and then decide. And based on this, you can actually arrive and lean towards one of these, whether you want to do locally or whether you want to kind of go to the server-side solutions here. Now, that doesn't mean that the other things that I talked about don't matter. You start with this, and then you fine-tune using the other things. So sometimes your offline availability becomes a really important factor, and that's a non-negotiable in certain use cases. So the other factors are sometimes like edge cases. So you want to kind of look at your specific use case, apply that parameter based on what your use cases really want to kind of add as a constraint, and then decide whether you want to go one side or the other. Now, I talked about on-device and cloud a little bit. So just a comparison here. So on-device, there are a couple of advantages. Like it is available offline. So you don't need internet connectivity for your use case to run and generate responses. It's available on the device. Secondly, there's privacy and privacy because your data is not going off the device. It is not going over the wire. It's processed locally on the device. And there are many use cases, like financial use cases, where regulatory requirements need you to process it like this. You can't take it out of the device. So that's really important that you understand that aspect of it also. It's not just for the sake of doing it in a more private manner. It's also sometimes regulatory requirements or legal requirements that require us to keep it on the device. Thirdly, you have no inference cost, which brings some smiles. But at the same time, you also have to look at it because you're running it on the user's device, right? You are not incurring any cost, server-side cost to using these APIs. But on the other side, the cloud side has a little more powerful models. So models are more capable on the cloud side. Secondly, it's also available to any connected device. If you look at the on-device models, they're not available for every device. They're there on a certain set of devices which are supported at this point, whereas cloud can be launched for any, you can expand your use case and increase your device reach quite extensively. Certainly, more modalities are supported. On-device now supports image and text, whereas video, audio, all of these other formats are actually getting supported are already supported on cloud. And it has a really, really large context window. So you can actually have hours of video processing or hours of video content or hours of audio content that you want to kind of add as context and then work with them if they need be. That is something that you can continue to do with cloud models. Now, this is like the spectrum of models that we have. Like on one side, on device, you have Gemini Nano, and the same architecture is there on Gemma 3N, which is the open source version of it. And then you have the Gemini Pro and Flash, which are our flagship models on cloud. And you also have Nano Banana and Imagine models, which are basically image generation and editing models. They're specific models which are actually tuned for more of these sort of use cases. Let's start with building some experience with on-device inference. How do you actually think about some of this? Now, all of you folks, okay, let me show a quick show of hands. How many people are using Android devices here? Yes. No, we love everybody, no? Nothing, no biases here. Whatever device you use, we're happy with that. But again, you might be using some of these products that we have, and you are already using many of these features on-device inference, using on-device, for instance. So for instance, the voice recorder summarization feature or the Gmail Smart Reply, they are all using on-device models today. So you are leveraging, and there are productionized use cases which are already there, leveraging on-device models and getting great results from there. And to kickstart, when you want to start off, the ML Kit Gen AI APIs are a great point to start off with. This is a place where you have a set of APIs which are predefined so that you can call it like you call a standard API without having to worry. The SDK handles all the complexity of interacting with the model, getting the data, the response back. All of that is handled by the API itself. Now, there are a few use cases like summarization, proofreading, rewriting, image generation. A few more are actually added now. We've added a few more to this. These are specialized use cases which you can just call like an API. So if you want to summarize an article, you can just summarize the ML Kit, add the ML Kit Gen AI as a API SDK, and then you can actually just call it like a function call and get your response back. And this hides the complexity a lot. So integrating this is like only a couple of lines of code. And you can quickly prototype also. That makes it easier for you to prototype and create new experiences. Now, the first question that you might have in your mind is, what if my use case is not fitting into any of these buckets? That's where you have the Open Prompt API, which allows you to send natural language text, and then you can actually get responses for that. There are certain modalities like text and images supported as input right now, and you get text output at this point. But that's just where we are at it, and we'll be expanding that further. Now, if you're looking at cloud, and I'm going to quickly jump to the cloud experience here. We have a set of models here. We have the Pro, which is a flagship model, which has the long context, complex reasoning capabilities. Then we have the Flash, which is more of our workhorse sort of model, which has a great balance between performance and cost. And lastly, we have the Flash Lite, which is more about when you have high scale, cost has become the primary factor, then you actually try to use flashlight. So all of these have slightly different costing and slightly different latency in terms of, and you have to look at your use case and see what works best for you. Sometimes if you need complex reasoning, you need to go to the pro model. Whereas if your use case is slightly more simpler, you can actually use flash or flashlight and get around with it. Again, the modalities that are supported by these models are also slightly different, so consider that also when you decide which model to use. Now there are two providers by which you can actually talk. When you start working with a cloud model, you can actually have two providers. One is the Gemini Developer API, which basically is where most people should start off with. It's a low cost, it's a no cost tier to start with. You have a generous quota for your development and testing purposes. You can use Google AI Studio to kind of prototype with it. And then you also can smoothly upgrade to a paid tier when your scale increases. So as you launch your app and your scale is improving and you need more and more capacity, then you can actually move on to a paid tier smoothly. But if you're already an enterprise customer, you're already using Google Cloud, and you need enterprise level capabilities, then the Gemini API for Vertex AI is the provider you should be using. That has additional capabilities, like you can actually decide, you have control over inference location, you have criticality and availability, which is slightly different from the other one. So if you're already a cloud customer and you have already done all that setting up, then maybe the Vertex AI is something, sorry, Gemini API in Vertex AI is what you might be wanting to take it. Now, if you're building an app, most of the time this is the architecture that people would want it. Your app talking to a server, when then decides which model to use or which gateway to go to, and that gateway talking to the models, right? Now, we've made it simpler for you there also. We have the Firebase AI Logic SDKs for you. The set of SDKs that you can use, add to your app, it will talk to the Firebase servers, then use the gateways that you've configured, and then it'll actually do the work for you. And this is only a few lines of code. So it hides away all those complexities. So in order to integrate this, you most probably will like 10 to 15 lines of code and your use case is done. For a chat, for instance, or an interactive chat, text only, it's about 15 lines of code apart from your UI. But your configuration and your setup is only about 15 lines of code at the max. It's that simple. So it's really easy. If you haven't tried it out, please go try these things out. These are not like you need to work for weeks before you can see results. You only have to work for a couple of hours and you will actually start seeing real world results come out here. And when you go to image generation, I talked about text a lot here. Now let's go to image generation. When you talk about image generation, we have two models, the Nano Banana and the Imagine models. Image generation is a use case which actually has a lot of interest among the audience, because users engage with this quite strongly. Things like user profile, user avatars, you can actually have contextual artwork or custom stickers. These are all adding delightful moments to the users when they're using your app, and it's very visual, so people relate to it really quickly. Where these models are slightly different is that if you're actually looking at imagining how you want to have a conversation and create an image, that's where you want to use the Nano Banana model. That is, you are saying that, oh, I need to create an image, and you give it the description. And you say, oh, I want this section to change like this. So that contextual, conversational sort of an image generation is basically Nano Banana. And the Imagine model is more of a faster model for kind of fine-tuning these things, like aspect ratios, quality, artistic styles, those sort of things. If you want to apply, that's where you want to kind of do it. I'll show you an example of it. You can actually see this where you actually have an first image, which is generate an image of a dog as a chef, and it created that. The second text that is given to the system is change the veggies in the image to meat. And that's the information that the user is giving, and that is the second image that it generates. So this is a Nano Banana outcome. This is a simple chat-based conversational image generation tool that we wrote. Whereas in Imagine, this is another example where you have an original bitmap with a dog actually creating pancakes, and we are actually masking an area, and then we are actually giving a prompt like remove the pancakes and add an omelet. And then it's actually changing that in the last one to Last one, omelette. It should have been omelette. Anyway, somebody's goofed up that one, but it is an omelette, by the way. For all purposes, it was an omelette. I'm sorry about that. Anyway, low latency, last one I want to touch upon is the low latency real-time voice interaction. This is where you create conversational APIs. Till now, you talked about models where you had things in which you would actually send a request and you get responses back, which is basically, with this low latency API, what we have done is a bidirectional WebSocket connection. So data goes bidirectionally continuously. So you can interrupt the conversation, talk to it. So you ask a question, it's answering, and you can say, no, no, this is not what I wanted. I want you to consider this and give me an answer. And the system will be able to kind of react to it. So that creates a lot of conversational stuff. There are a lot of use cases for hands-free voice control, voice search in your application. These are all places where you can actually leverage on this API and do this. I talked about quite a few APIs and what the possibilities are on the mobile side of it. There is a lot more advanced concepts like function calling, fine-tuning the models, how you would use RAGs, for instance, adapters, AI core, and there are a lot more details here, but in the interest of time, I wouldn't be able to cover all those topics. So that could be the homework for you guys. If you have covered a lot of the things I've talked about, look at function calling, look at RAG, look at fine-tuning of these models. These are areas which you can explore to create more delightful experiences for your users. With that, I'll hand it over to Anisha to talk to you about Google Cloud. Thank you.
Yeah, that's Google Play, but that's a conversation for another day, Sanjeev. Thank you, everyone. A big warm welcome to all of you, and thank you for making it at 10 a.m. today. I mean, we looked at the crowds and we were just so happy. I mean, we really, really overwhelmed, and thank you for making it again. I am Anisha. I lead the Play ecosystem for India. My colleagues had something really interesting to talk about in their sessions. Well, I'm going to talk about something which is not really rocket science, something which is table stakes but helps you make money. So I'm going to talk about how do you make money, how do you build and grow and monetize your apps today. Talking about Play Store, I'm sure all of you have been there, have been using it. India has about 600 million users on Play Store. And how many developers in the room who've been using Play Console, have an app? OK, that's a decent number, so I know the conversation to have with all of you now. We literally have about 600 million users that I spoke about in India on the Play Store. So we're not just a marketplace. We're actually a launchpad. We give you that face, that interface in terms of where your app kind of goes up, and you can build a business from there. Talking about Google Play, we have access to about 2.5 billion users in 190 countries and millions of apps and games. Talking about India alone, last year in 2024, the plain Android ecosystem generated about 4 lakh crores of revenue in India. Also talking about how many users actually come outside of India on the apps and games that are developed in India. The number is close to a 16.7%. So if in India there were about 720 crore downloads, there were about 600 that happened by Indian users and about 120 which happened by overseas. So astonishing number, and this is the kind of distribution platform we give you. We really believe in the power of apps and games, and that's why we are here talking to all of you, because we know how you really make it useful for our users, how you make work, their life, and games fun for them. My colleagues have spoken about the first two parts of the tools that Google Play actually offers you, and given it's a whole suite of things. For example, when you build and test, you use Google Code Assist. And then you use a bunch of things on release and update when you talk about the Gemini Studio as well. What I'm here to talk about today is acquire, grow, engage, retain, and how do you monetize your apps? I think when I was thinking of what would be the most relevant conversation to have with most of you, these are the three most vital things that kind of came to my mind. The first was app quality. Again, not rocket science. We all have heard about this day in and day out, but table stakes. Super, super important. We are going from a platform where you can just list your apps to becoming something where we really keep a check on the quality control and the kind of apps that are uploaded. That really affects the discoverability of your app and the kind of users your app can reach. The second thing I'm going to quickly touch upon, and Amrit spoke quite a bit about what you should be doing on Android, how to build on mobile. I'm going to talk about the Android vitals, which are really important for you while on the Google Play console when you're building an app. And the third one, and the most important one, is monetization. In today's world of AI, now, one of the statistics that we kind of came up last year was that 69% of the users in India, their first interaction with AI is actually through an app. So that's the kind of distribution we're looking at here, right? And that's why it's so important to kind of personalize each of these solutions that you offer to your users. App fundamentals. Now, what does this really mean? There are these 4 basic things that we try to focus on. Useful features that your users love. If it is not relevant for them, they're going to trash it anytime. So you need to be very careful about the features that you bring. It should be meaningful to them. It should help them do their job. The second one is a beautiful design and the ease of use. When I talk about beautiful design, right, and I'm going to touch upon that in the slides to come, we will also talk about what we do as a part of store listings experiment, what we do as a part of custom store listings. But these are really important things because it's like you go to a store, and if the forefront doesn't look great, you don't want to enter that store, right? It's very similar what we want to do with an app. The third is reliability and performance. We all have stressed about it enough. Very, very important. One of the things that we keep telling our developers out there is that please make sure that most of your features are compliant with Android 15 and more, right? So reliability and performance, super important. And the last one is the latest Android features. The good news here is that most of these features now are available on the Play console. So if you want to look at your Android vitals, if you want to look at, very user-perceived metrics, ANR and crash rates, but you can look at all of that. You can actually get a warning that, these are the kind of vitals that are crashing in the last 7 days. It gives you another 21 days to rectify it so that, you really don't have to have your app go off the Play Store. Can't stress more about each of these. So business continuity, app quality is super, super important. How many of you have faced policy issues with Google Play? So this is a very important slide for you. So this slide actually tells you that if you have your app quality metrics in place, and I talk to a lot of developers in my role, one of the things that we really focus on is how do you make sure that you're policy compliant on Google? And we do a bunch of things there, right? We have Play on Air. We do a bunch of policy programs that our trust and safety teams run. Please attend those. You'll get familiar in terms of what we have to offer there. But just so that your business runs uninterrupted, this is one of the key metrics that we want you to look at. The second one, store presence. And I'll touch upon it in the next couple of slides. And I'll quickly tell you about custom store listings experiment. And store listings experiment and custom store listings. And the third one is advertising spends. Now, what happens if your app is actually of great quality, right? It actually helps you with a better ROAS and a better ROI. So what it does is your app becomes a part of the larger inventory, and it shows up more often when you want to advertise on the Play Store. Store listing experiments. How many of you have tried this on the console? Has it worked for you? It hasn't? It has. Okay. I think it's one of the, it's really interesting how this kind of A/B testing model we've brought into place, where you can actually try out different ways your store can look like on the Play Store, right? Now, what you can really play around with is the icons, the visual assets and everything else. And we actually see incredible data coming through to us through these dashboards where we actually can make out what kind of icons are working better, what kind of visual assets are working better? What are people engaging more with? The next one is custom store listings. Now these, you can customize your icons, your descriptions, your subscriptions, your videos, and you can actually add about 50 variations. Now looking at the example over there, and these can be done in a bunch of ways. You can do a keyword search here. So for example, I want to look up, how do I build muscle? And then it actually gives me suggestions in terms of the apps that show me the best gym in the area or what are the ways to build up muscle. The second one could be any sort of visual assets, right? For example, I'm a sports aficionado, and I'm based in the United States, and there's somebody else who's based in India, and the Indians kind of relate to cricket more. Then I can show them assets which are more cricket related versus any other sport. So I can tune it and make it more personalized as per the audience that I have in the room. I'm cognizant of the time I'm left with, so I'm going to quickly rush this through. So one of the things that we keep hearing about, and what I've been talking about, right, the Android vitals and why they're so important and why you need to keep a check on them. Now, 42% of the users who leave a 1 rating on your app, they actually mention bugs and stability as one of the main reasons. Now, that's something that you need to take care of. And whenever a developer kind of comes to us, the first conversation we have you checked your ANR? Have you checked your crash rates? Where do you stand today? And half of the problems are solved there. So please do keep a check, because these are really important metrics. They really affect your discoverability on Play Store as a platform. The second one is 73% of the people who rate your apps as a 5-star mention speed, design, and usability as the top criteria. So you know what is making the difference. It's just that you need to tweak your app according to that. In Google, we call it the 6 MB rule. So for every 6 MB increase to your APK size, we see a decrease in install conversion rate by 1%. I mean, obviously, it's coming from the fact that there's friction to install. The bigger the app becomes, it's more difficult to kind of install it. And that's why we say restrict your app to a certain size. And this is the golden rule here. This is the golden standard. The last one, but the most important one, the monetization tools with Google Play. The first one that I'm going to quickly highlight about is buyer acquisition. Now, these could be about low entry barriers, right? How do you get more buyers onto the platform? So, you bring in free trials, you have intro pricing, and you have the ability to localize prices, because that's what you can do on the Play console now. The second one is retention. So you try your best to retain your subscribers so that they don't churn. So you give them a grace period, you give them an account hold, you give them a subscription pause, so that you can solve and basically live through that retention period so that they don't churn. The third one is churn. How do you manage both voluntary and involuntary churn to sustain a subscriber lifecycle? You can cancel surveys, you can cancel subscriptions, you can send them in-app messaging, but these are the basic tools that we have in place when you look at monetization. Something really, really interesting that we came up in the last couple of years, we ran something called as the price experiments. Now we know that different products or different apps have different price points in different markets. Now if you look at something like a Whoop, and we think of paying like about $300 in subscription, it suddenly feels like a lot, and it's kind of restricted to a certain audience on the platform, right? But this kind of an experiment gives you that flexibility to try out different price points in different categories of audience. It actually tells you what is working better and what is not. Sometimes as builders and as entrepreneurs, we just feel that, and we just take India to be that price-sensitive market, right? Which it is, which is very true. But sometimes it's really good to run these experiments so that it can just give you a sense on maybe a higher price point for this product might actually work, or maybe it does not. So it gives you that flexibility to try out different options. One of my favorite features for sure on the Play Store. We spoke about it, localized price experiments. They're now available on the Play console. And honestly, if you can use what you have in your Play console today, you can actually make use of a lot of resources that we have in place. I've just been given a heads up that I'm going over time. So I'm going to quickly sum up. Optimize your app through store listing experiments and custom store listings. Improve monetization on the app. And look at your Android vitals. Thank you so much for your time today, and enjoy the rest of the sessions. Thanks.
Check. We'll have a quick 10-minute break now, so you can break to use the restroom or get a drink, and we'll start our session next session in about 10 minutes. Thanks, everyone.